Welcome.
To the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 262 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. We're going to be hacking on some Firefox stuff today, going to be investigating some things, figuring some stuff out. Let's get started. Let me start by sharing my screen. This is the agenda. So today is September 15th, 2021, episode 262. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I don't really know what's going to happen during the stream. I haven't prepared anything, really. Like, I know kind of what bugs I want to look at. I know how I generally want to approach them, or like, I know what I hope to do, but whether or not those things actually occur, who knows? I might get sidelined, I might get distracted, I might get stuck on something, but we're gonna figure it out together. You know, you're watching me work live, and so none of this is like me pretending to do work that I actually already know how to do or anything. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the agenda that we're looking at is something that you have access to. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla, check out the video details to, I think, the left of the video. The left of the video. If you're watching this on YouTube, check the video description. And if you're on Twitch, then the link is about to get dropped in the Twitch chat. Let me just drop it right now. Drop it like it's hot. Here we go. Agenda. Booyashaka. So there's the agenda, and so you can just follow along, click on the links, and you know, as I update the agenda periodically, the agenda should update. We also have an episode guide. It's a completely viewer-driven episode guide, driven completely by viewers just like you. You can add your own notes, addenda, you know, you can expand upon maybe something I mentioned during a particular episode. You can correct me if I've gone wrong or, you know, times have changed on a particular thing. Just send a pull request to the repository. If you're not sure how to do that, there's a guide in the agenda on how you can do that. A special thanks to Smurf D, who is, I would say, our most prolific episode guide contributor. And I believe I have a couple of pull requests from Smurf D that I need to get to, but I won't do that right now. Instead, I would like to start by looking at this bug that someone on Bugzilla pinged me about a few days ago. This is what we call an intermittent test failure, and they asked me to take a look at it. So let me pull up the bug and we can talk about this a little bit. Oh, before I continue though, someone had sent in a message, a rating message last week after last week's episode saying that they couldn't get to the chat based on the links from YouTube. Like, they asked me to put the link to the chat in YouTube, the video description. I have done this. It's in there. It was always there. But I've tried to make it clearer. And if you're having a hard time connecting to the chat, let me know. Like, if there's a whole bunch of people who are like, I can't get this thing to work, send me a message. You can communicate to me through this rate this episode link. You know, just send in some kind of rating. But in the questions section, just let me know if you're having problems, and I'll try and make sure that's clearer. So what's this bug about? So this is what we call an intermittent test failure. Any sufficiently large software system with a sufficiently large test suite, in my experience, will run into this particular problem where you'll have a series of tests that will fail some of the time but not all of the time. And this is due to non-determinism. And, you know, the tests not taking certain things into account or the code not taking certain things into account. Like, sometimes the test is doing it correctly, sometimes the code is acting in a non-deterministic way. And by non-deterministic way, I mean it doesn't run the same way every time. You know, there's not a guarantee it will run the same way every time. In some very simple programs, you can expect that it will run the same way every time you like type in a command, you press enter, and it will execute in a particular way that is very like predictable. And that's what we call a deterministic sort of execution of a program. It's if you are able to follow it, if you know the inputs and you can trace the exact, you know, flow through the program and figure out what the outputs are, that is deterministic execution. If you have non-determinism, it's usually due to things like, well, you've got the user like sending in events that you can't predict. You've got timers that are maybe timers or events coming in from different threads, and the operating system is changing the thread priorities under the hood, or different programs sending you messages, or who knows what's going on. All sorts of things that a program sort of has to contend with, that those conditions might be different from test run to test run. And that can sometimes result in a test failure. And in this case, we have an intermittent test failure. That's what we're looking at least to start, for a thing called browser usage telemetry interaction. And the error message is we're failing an assertion in the test where we expect to see the correct value for a bookmark item in the bookmarks bar. We try and match undefined, the string undefined, I'm guessing an undefined value, to the number 1, and that obviously they don't equal one another, and so we fail the assertion. And this started showing up 5 months ago. And then it was marked incomplete because I guess it wasn't seen for a while, and then it started showing up again. And then, we start our sheriffs, the people who monitor the tree, started seeing an uptick in the frequency. Heist commented on this. Heist was like, I'm out for 2 weeks, so I can't look at this myself. I've cleared the priority, so it'll show up in triage. It'd help if we had some idea of what tripped this test going orange again. Orange is a intermittent test failure. Intermittent orange is used interchangeably at Mozilla. Orange is the color that we set in our CI, what we call tree herder, our management tool for viewing continuous integration and builds and whatnot. The orange color is used for a test failure, and so intermittent test failure, aka intermittent orange, they're synonymous with one another. I guess that's redundant. They're synonymous. It'd help if we had some idea of what tripped this test going orange again. Do we have a regression window for it? The test itself hasn't changed since May, so was there a change under the test in the window where the test orange restarted? There are no test-related modifications, only new platforms that the test's running on. And then I believe the disable line, the failures job, showed that it was passing a lot. If it fails too much, we can disable it. Okay, so the test was disabled, and then it was re-enabled. And so we're getting 132 failures over the last 30 days. It's a pretty frequently failing test. In fact, if you expand some of these comments in here, we have this thing called the intermittent failures robot that monitors each of our repositories in the continuous integration system for instances of this intermittent test failure. And we actually can graph that. If we open up this link and we take a look at the last 30 days, you can see that there's this sort of a failure rate per push. And there's a spike here, but I think what I'm most interested in looking at is just what builds and what kinds of builds this failure occurs on. So I see a mixture of both Windows and Mac OS. So right now we're gathering clues. We're gathering clues about this test failure. We don't even know what the test is testing. I haven't even looked yet, but I'm just kind of getting a sense of what the test failure is. That's how I generally start on these. So it's failing on a lot of these shippable builds. That's a keyword here. Shippable build is a build that has gone through what's called PGO, or Profile Guided Optimization, which is a sort of post-processing step that we put our binaries through before we ship them to users to make them faster. And profile guided optimization sounds fancy, but basically it's we compile a program, we run the program, and it's got a bunch of instrumentation, and we have the program execute a set of instructions, basically common user interactions, and the instrumentation that's monitoring the build, the binary, goes, okay, well, I've noticed that this is how the program executes whenever the user or whenever these actions are performed, and then it reorganizes the binary so that those operations, which we consider to be the most frequent, like using the URL bar, opening tabs, going to a website, we optimize for those. We optimize the binary for those. And so it's a step that occurs after the initial build. That's profile guided optimization. So there's a lot of shippable build failures here. So that may or may not be a clue. One thing that shippable builds do is, because they run faster, they can reveal races that may have existed in the test but one side of a race was winning more often than another, because you'll notice that it's not always a shippable build. Here's an example of a test failure occurring for a non-shippable build, but it's very clear that the vast majority of these are for shippable builds or profile guided optimized builds. And so um, it's possible that the profile guided optimization has tipped the scales a little bit in one way or the other. I see Danny Colin is typing in the chat. Hopefully, you may have noticed I'm not using my fancy microphone today. I had to restart my Mac OS machine because of a very critical update that was applied. Hopefully, you should all update your Apple software because of a recent vulnerability. Um, Danny Colin asks, do we still support Mac OS 10.x? Yes, we do. We do. We started to run a lot of our infrastructure, a lot of our testing on Mac OS 11, but we still do run as well, I believe, on Mac OS 10. We can actually take a look at that. If we go to treeherder.mozilla.org, we can look at Mozilla Central, and we can take a look at some of the builds here. This is a very overwhelming user interface, but this tells you some of the these are some of the platforms that we build on. Like this is 64-bit. I guess this might be the M1 chip. I'm not sure if that's what this is. But then there's Mac OS building on 11, and then here it is for 10, 14, and we run a bunch of tests on the 10 branch and on. It's a kind of a misnomer. It's like OS X 11, but the X is the 10 part. This should really say like Mac OS 11, but c'est la vie. Anyways, these are a bunch of different platforms that we build on. Linux 64, Linux 1804. These are all like flavors of Ubuntu, flavors of Android, versions of Android, flavors of Windows 7, 10, Windows 2012 still. Isn't that wild? Windows 2012, still building on that. Because we got to make sure that we support lots of old versions of Windows. Yeah, so there you go. Oh, ARC is ARM. It's not the M1 chip, I guess. ARC64 is ARM. So I guess there are ARM chips out there in some of our Mac OS machines. I don't know. Anyway, lots of different failures. That's worth noting, and a lot of them are shippable. So let's now start looking at the test itself to try and understand what the test actually tests and where the failure occurs, and see if we can come up with a hypothesis of what might be racing. And yes, there is pagination. I'm on page 1 of 5. We can go view 100 rows and see that we're mostly failing on the Mac OS 11 builds, but it's possible that the test has been disabled on Mac OS 10, Mac OS X. It's possible. As we sort of migrate from one version of an operating system to another, we'll move test frameworks over so that they only run on the next one, and we'll slowly retire test runs on the older machines until nothing's running on them, and then we retire the machines. So it's possible that it's not failing on Mac OS 10 because it's Mac OS 11 specific, or because the test actually doesn't run on Mac OS 10 anymore. Okay, so this is in the past, what was the date range? 30 days. Okay, let's take a look and see if we can understand what this test actually tests. Browser usage telemetry interaction. So if I remember correctly, browser usage telemetry is a thing that we use to measure the usage of various UI components in the browser. So we basically collect counts in we don't do this in private browsing windows, we only do it in normal browsing windows, but we count how many times you click on the home button or the reload button or the app menu button or the new tab button, and just sort of create this heat map of the frequency with which things are used so that we can have confidence that we aren't polluting the toolbars with things that no one's using, basically. And so let's take a look at this code. Let's open this test. How does this test work? I don't think I've ever read this test before. It's a longer one, but maybe we can focus in on just the particular place where the test is failing and zoom out from there. So I'm going to look for this, for bookmark item in bookmarks bar. It's possible that was broken over. Huh. Where is this message? Maybe there's a test unexpected fail, test interaction, undefined. Does it give me a line number? Line 47. Here. Okay, I see. And this is a helper function. And we're expecting to see a correct value inside of a certain scalar. Scalar is... Oh, this is interesting. So scalars is this thing that we get. We get a snapshot for from our telemetry backend of various scalars. And we expect them to be of a certain value. I see. Sources of areas. Okay, so somehow we're calling it assert interaction scalars and we're calling it with bookmark item. And it might be this one actually. Bookmark item 1. Do we call it again with bookmark item? No, it doesn't look like it. So it looks like this is probably where the test is failing in toolbar buttons. So let us walk through what this test does and see if we can understand what it's doing. And then we can put together a hypothesis. Oh man, my mouth is like lazy today. Let's put together a hypothesis of what might be going wrong here. Okay. Let's give this a read. So the very first thing that we do is we open a new tab at example.com. And in our test framework, that actually doesn't go to example.com. We redirect that to like an internal page. We don't actually hit the example.com page every time we run a test. We don't go into the network and like load it over the network. In fact, if you attempt to access the network in any of our automated tests, the process will crash because we don't actually want to accidentally just spam some domain out there with a bunch of traffic whenever we're running tests. So some fake page, just pretend that this is a fake page is opened in a new tab. And then we create a custom widget in the nav bar. And we resolve once it's been created. And we give it this weird ID. And then we get a snapshot for our keyed scalars. I can't exactly remember what this means, but basically I think it means like just dump all of the scalars that have been recorded in telemetry right now in this particular bucket, the main bucket, which is I guess where some of this UI stuff would be captured. And it doesn't look like we do anything with that snapshot. We just kind of capture it and walk away. What does this true do? Let's quickly look at this API. How does this work? The second argument is clear store. So whether to clear out the keyed scalars in the name store after snapshotting. So that's probably why we're doing this. We're clearing out the scalars at the start of this test. Then we open another tab, get another tab, and we set up a promise for closing that tab. And then we open up the bookmarks toolbar, which has the ID personal toolbar for some reason. That's like a long in the tooth ID. For a long time, that's what it's been called, the personal toolbar under the hood. And we set up this promise where we're waiting for the bookmarks toolbar to become visible. We set its toolbar visibility to be true. We wait for that to actually become true because I guess there's some kind of asynchronous thing. So we just poll the DOM until the collapsed attribute is removed. And then we register a cleanup function to put that back. So at this point, we can be reasonably confident that the bookmarks toolbar is visible. Then we get at the, I guess this is some kind of helper for, this is probably just like get element by ID. This is like a helper function. So we get at the tabs element. We make sure it doesn't have, we're not overflowing. Oh, if we check to see if we're overflowing for some reason, if so, if we're not overflowing, we put ourselves into the overflow state. Bizarre, I'm not sure why that would be, but we do it. And we also clean up a function, so we want to be in the overflow state. That's intentional. And we clean that up and remove that state whenever we're done. And then we click on the stop reload button. So we stop. So this new foreground tab, we click on stop, then we click on back, and then we click on back, which is weird because like this new foreground tab should be at the default home page, and clicking on stop shouldn't do anything because usually it's already loaded, and clicking back shouldn't go anywhere because it's a new tab and we haven't gone anywhere yet. But okay. Make sure the all tabs panel is in the document. Okay. And then we click on the all tabs button. And then we hide it. So we're basically just like poking around in parts of the UI. We click on the tab close button for the tab we had opened, and we presume that that causes, yeah, and then we wait for the tab to close, okay. And then we click on a bookmark item inside the Places toolbar, the first bookmark item. Uh-huh. You know what? I have a theory. I have a theory about this, of what might be going wrong. So we open the bookmarks toolbar, and then we execute a bunch of instructions, and then we get here and we're like, hey, click on the first bookmark item. But I have a feeling that the bookmarks toolbar, when it becomes like visible, it doesn't immediately populate. I have a feeling there's like an asynchronous like Places toolbar initialization step. Let me see if I can prove that. We're going to take a look at what happens whenever you make the Places toolbar visible. So let's take a look at browser.js. We're going to see if we can find where the Places toolbar stuff is hooked up. So here's the actual Places toolbar right here. And by default, it actually doesn't have any items in it. Like it has a toolbar button, but it doesn't have any bookmarks items in it yet. And to me, that is probably what state we're in whenever things fall over. In fact, if we go to one of these failures, I always forget about this, but if we go to a very recent failure, let's go to the first page, so we get a very recent failure from today, actually, on Autoland. Let's open up this build, if we can, on this revision. Can we get the job? Yeah, here's the log for the failure. We can actually get a screenshot of what the browser looked like at the point of failure because we collect one. And it looks like there is an item here, but I will bet you that at the time of the test that item wasn't there. And maybe we can even find an example of a screenshot where it's not there. Oh, this just looks horribly broken. I got a feeling on Mac OS, on those machines, we haven't got our screenshot stuff working yet. Ah, this is interesting. Here, we're actually still animating it in. So clicking on it while it's still animating in might also be a problem. That's the other issue. Let's look at more. I guess we're stuck looking at Windows ones. This one's finished. This one's still animating in. Because things that are still animating in, I'm pretty sure if they're not yet displayed, we might not allow the click event to occur. It depends on how this click event is working. How does click work? Do we have a... Click is synthesize mouse at the center of the element And if I remember correctly, event utils synthesize mouse at center works by getting the target bound and client rect, and then synthesizing the mouse works by, come on. Where is synthesize mouse? We get the synthesize mouse at point, and what we do is if basically what will happen is we may have computed that the item is, the center is right here, and then we will synthesize a click right here where there is like nothing. There's just like empty content area. That could happen. That's another hypothesis. So let me start writing some of this down, some of these hypotheses. And then we can alter the test to start to handle some of them and see what that does. Let's create a new note. Ugh. I haven't yet completed my transition off of Evernote to oh jeez, how does any of this stuff work anymore? My transition from Evernote to Joplin for my bug notes, but I'm hoping to do it real soon. It's getting a little too busy for me. Okay, so hypothesis 1. The bookmark item doesn't yet exist in the toolbar at the time that the click event occurs. Hypothesis 2. The bookmark item does exist, but the toolbar is still animating in. And so the click event occurs on a piece of UI that the click event actually ends up occurring on the content area because the center of the bookmark item is positioned such that it's obscured. How do I mention this? Occurring on the content area because that's technically where the center of the bookmark item is when the toolbar is still animating in. Any other hypotheses? All right. Well, let's keep looking at how this thing shows up. So when the Places toolbar is opened, we populate it. I'm guessing it's here. Browser Places views. What causes it to? No, that's not it. Places toolbar. This might be it. This situation. So what creates a Places toolbar? Inside of Browser Places, whenever we really init, which occurs asynchronously. This will check whether we finish startup and can show toolbars. Can load toolbar content promise. And this occurs when? In delayed startup, so after we've painted. So I think we can presume that that's done, and then we wait for this promise to resolve. This promise is promise used by the toolbar view place to determine whether we can start loading its content, which involves IOs, so it's postponed during startup. This promise's resolution value indicates whether toolbar initialization waited on session start windows restored and then IL task or happened immediately as the window was opened. This is used for telemetry. Okay. Place UI unblock toolbars equals this function, and then we set up this promise. Can load. and then we resolve immediately in the event that, oh, I see, unblock toolbars is a callback that's occurred. That occurs, this is all very, very interesting. Okay, but I think I get it. And then we do real init, which actually occurs after we've realized that we've read the places stuff off of the disk. Or the toolbar is collapsed, don't initialize. Okay, that's, I think, the state that we initially start in. We exit here, and then in the toolbar visibility change event occurs whenever we decide to show the toolbar, and then we would do reset view after we showed the toolbar, and reset view. It's possible the place view might not exist. We need to do a full init. This could happen if the bookmarks toolbar items are moved to the menu panel and then to the toolbar with the added toolbar button option outside of customize mode. Okay, so that's, I guess, possible, but unlikely. I don't think we would enter. I don't think we would have done these things yet. Then we call init, and init, I'm guessing, is it'll happen again. Initialize. So it does this again. Interesting. So there is a toolbar initialized attribute that we could use. Which might be helpful. We can wait for it to be initialized. And then there's also the animating in. So the animating in, let's see here, personal toolbar. Personal toolbar. There's some CSS for animating. Here, transition, personal toolbar, not instant, collapsed. I see, there's some kind of instant class. Initialize, personal default, visibility, hidden. So when do we set instant? Add class instant. Do we do that? Class list add instant. Aha. Oh, that's not the same thing. This is for something completely unrelated. This is for APZ. So when do we set the instant class? Places. Okay. Where did this instant rule come from? Back in 2020. Earlier than that. I see. So it was added. It was added in this patch. Let's take a look at the full diff. Ah. Toggle instant if animated. And is this still in the code base somewhere? What is this? No, this is not in the code base anymore. Where are we? We're in set toolbar visibility. Okay. Toggle instant. Is anything like that still around? Yeah, okay, here we go. And animated is set here. Animated is true. So are we able to like control in this test? Register set personal toolbar. Test wait for conditions. Set toolbar visibility. And we say make it visible. Then we say persist and then say animated. So I'm going to say one way around this is to say one one thing I like to do, especially when I've got a whole string of Boolean values here, is we'll give them names. Is visible, and then we'll say persist. Well, we'll use the default, which is true. Persist. I guess we don't need to persist it, to be completely honest. Persist. Set that to false, actually. And then animated, false. And then we'll have prettier, clean this up. And here we're going to say is visible, false, persist, false, animated. So that might, I think that will help take care of the still animating in problem. For some reason, oh, that is invalid JavaScript. Okay. And now prettier. You probably want to clean it up. Great. Query selector. Is there a way we can ensure that the places toolbar is initialized? Yes, there's that attribute. Await bookmarks toolbar visible. Collapsed. Instead of waiting for it to be visible, let's wait for it to be ready. Bookmarks toolbar ready. So we're going to wait for it to not be collapsed and toolbar.getAttribute initialized. Or has attribute. There you had that 12 foo, says Smurf D. There you had that 12 foo. What 12 foo? What 12 foo? Not sure what 12 foo we're talking about here. But the places toolbar, they're going to set initialized on the toolbar. So we're going to say get attribute equals true. And now let's prettier that. And let's run this test and see what happens. Mock Moki test browser usage telemetry underscore interaction.js. Oh, in the bottom, Smurfy says, below 12 foo. Oh yeah, we destroy the widget. And I guess we make sure that we can click on the 12 foo widget. That's what we're doing. We like create a custom one, we click on it, we make sure that we registered click on it, and then Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo, and done. We pass. Now what I like to do is I also like to verify. I'll run the test through kind of what we call a stress test, where it will run the test in a variety of modes, trying to detect any places where intermittent test failures could arise, usually by our test framework and Gecko itself has this mode that we don't use in production, but for testing, it's called chaos mode. In chaos mode is a special mode where the underlying infrastructure of Gecko will try to oh, here we go. Hey, we got it. We actually got the test failure locally. That's fun. We were able to do it with verify, and the reason we got it is because of chaos mode, I would guess. Expected to see the correct value for bookmark item in bookmarks bar. Undefined equals 1. Let's make sure. Let's log some stuff. Let item equal document.query selector. Let's put this query selector in. And we'll have it click on that item. and then we'll have it dump the item, bookmark item. We'll see if anything exists there. All right, let's rerun and verify. So the way chaos mode works is it will randomly reprioritize threads. It will take what is oh, here we go. We've already got it. We got our test failure. So it does find an item, but clicking on it does nothing. Interesting. So maybe it's actually not a matter of the click event not hitting the right thing, but the click event not being recorded correctly. Interesting. So usage telemetry is this module. Bookmark item. Get widget ID. So record command, is that add usage listeners, record command. Yeah, we'll record the command. So I think last target. If source event type equals a click, we'll get a reference to it. So the item should obviously have a class name of bookmark item, right? Like if I run this again, we'll probably see a class name of bookmark item. And it might even have an ID. But my guess is it wouldn't, but maybe. Let's see if we can find this failure again. Come on. Come on. You know, it would be lovely. It's time travel debugging in JavaScript. So this is my opportunity to let you know that that is a technology that exists. I want to plug some work from some ex-colleagues of mine, people who work on Firefox dev tools and a number of platform things. They sort of spun out their own company to do time travel debugging in JavaScript in your web applications. So if you're not sure what time travel debugging is, imagine if you could like use a debugger to step forward, which is normal, but then also to step backward through time through a recording of web applications. And imagine if you could share those recordings around. So like a user could, in theory, reproduce a bug in your web application, record that trace, send it to a developer who could then step through in the code and see what was going wrong. Like step through and see how things got to be the way they were, and then like step backward. And the way it works is you have to run a specific, what's called a recording browser. I think they've got two different versions. They've got one that's built on top of Chrome and one built on top of Firefox. And they've also got one built on top of Node. So in theory, you should be able to do this with like a standard Node application as well. And this is not a novel idea, time travel debugging, but time travel debugging has been, kicked around for a while. Mozilla, someone at Mozilla spun out the RR project, which is like C++ time travel debugging on Linux, which has been very handy. But this is really interesting because it's JavaScript time travel debugging, which up until now I think has been pretty tricky. And it looks like they're working on other runtimes as well. Python, Java, Ruby. It's really interesting. It's like suddenly you can start stepping through these stacks, these interpreted languages, and do backwards time travel debugging. It's pretty great. And I'm just going to finish my plug here. Let's look at the pricing. It's free if you're an individual. It's free forever. Unlimited recordings. You got privacy controls, limited API key support, but like that's pretty good. if you have a team, it costs you $20 per month per developer. But think how much time and money it would actually save you and your team to have such recordings. So pretty nice. And then there's like an enterprise. They have like a call us if you're interested in this package. We won't put a price on it. If so, I mean, there's that bucket as well. But if you're working on your own, just the free package might be enough. And what's really nice is uh, Replay will always be free for local development, open source, and collaboration. Pretty great. Pretty great. Check it out. Go check out replay.io. Let me put a link to this in here. Plug for replay.io. Yeah, I know a number of people who are working on that now. Let's take a look at the team. Who's their team? Team. Do they have their team listed? No, but they're hiring a bunch of people. Oh, here we go. Here's the team. Yeah, I know a bunch of these people. Very exciting. Very exciting. Okay. All right. Let us continue. So we had this failure, and then we got our class list. Yes, it has the bookmark item class. That makes sense. So the reason I brought up replay is it'd be really handy to debug this with replay right now. Once we had the failure. Anyways, we get our click. Let's take a look and see if we can dump the click event. Let's see, like record command called. Let's also put a clicking on bookmark item. Done clicking on bookmark item. And then let's see. Recorded scalar. All right. And is this for engagement or it's interaction scalars? Not engagement scalars, it's just interaction scalars. Okay, let's take a look at that now. Sorry about this white dot, that's probably annoying, eh? Get rid of that somehow. Is that better? Yeah, it's better. Come on, test failure. Let's go, let's go. No whammies. Or actually, I do want a whammy. There it is. Booyah. I just had to summon it. Okay, clicking on bookmark item, record command called, and then it was done clicking on the bookmark item. And so we didn't actually record the scalar. That's interesting because if you see one of the places where we do it correctly, it's probably somewhere up here. Where is it? Bookmark item. So clicking on bookmark item, record command, and then we record the scalar in the bookmarks bar, which is what we expect. Right? Right. 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 Actually, yeah, bookmarks bar, and then we expect bookmark item, the key to be the bookmark item. So we didn't actually do the recording, so we must bail out earlier. Like I see in the failure, like we do clicking on bookmark item, we see the click event, and then we somehow bail out. So now the trick is to see where we bail out. So the way I tend to do is like bailing at 1, bailing at 2, bailing at 3, bailing at 4, bailing at 5. bailing at 6. And then maybe we just don't enter this branch. Bailing at 7. All right. Let's build just in case. Rerun. Let's get some whammies here. Print debugging can't be beaten, says Smurfd. I don't know if that's true. Didn't we just talk about something that could totally beat? Wouldn't this like defeat printf debugging? It doesn't defeat it. It augments it. It augments it, and that to me is what would be really nice if we could get that for our browser tests here. But I think this is tuned very much for like browser, like web applications, not the browsers themselves. That's not to say it couldn't be repurposed for the browser UI. All right, come on. Give me that test failure. Test failure time. Let's do it. Let's do it. Test failure. Where's my failure at? Where's my failure? Where's my failure? Boop, boop, boop. See, here's the problem. This is called the, I guess the measurement problem or the Heisenberg uncertainty problem, Heisenbug, where like I've changed the conditions of what I've been testing by adding log statements, and that changes the actual execution. You know, this is very much a timing. I think one of the things we've determined from all of this is that it's very timing sensitive, and so by adding these log statements, I might have actually I may have changed the conditions such that this won't fail anymore. Which is a bummer. I don't know what we do in that case. I mean, we could test some hypotheses. Then we kind of start stabbing around and guessing. It doesn't look like it's going to fail. So I noticed a lot of bailing out at 2s. There's a bailout at 7 there. Is there something I could do? Like, dumping has its own cost. And it's possible that by doing the dumping, I've changed the timing of things. Like, writing to the console has a cost. So here's my plan. Let's do this. Let's determine if the source event, last click target, source. Let's see if the target is target.class name equals bookmark item. Let's actually do it this way. Let is bookmark item equal event target class name. I mean, it will obviously there will be a target, but I don't think I need that question mark. Okay. If is book here's what we'll do. Is book log if bookmarky equals if is bookmark item dump message Log if bookmark key. Let's see if that's enough to convince it. Because that should actually cut a lot of the logging. Because most of the logging isn't for the bookmark item button. And maybe that's enough to sort of convince it. Oh, burp, 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 exploding. I must have done something wrong. Undefined, oh. Why am I exploding? I'm exploding because assignment to undeclared variable. Whoops. Let. Boom, 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 boom. Here we go. We got it. We got it, everybody. We did it. Okay, so we click on the bookmark item, record command called, done clicking on bookmark item. What? Target. Click. What's click do? Just so I know, click is just click is gets the element and synthesizes mouse at the center synchronously. Event target class name. That's what we're using here, right? On bookmarky is bookmark item. Mysterious. Mysterious. So my initial assumptions were definitely wrong about, I'm pretty sure they were wrong based on what I've seen so far about, you know, the toolbar hasn't initialized yet, or like we clicked on it in a collapsed, semi-collapsed state. Those are wrong. I think it's okay though to be wrong about these sorts of things. We've eliminated possibilities and that helps. Oh boy, haven't failed yet. Come on. Come on, fail for me. Let's see it. Let's see the test failure. Go, 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 do it. Please, please. I didn't add any new printing. I just added more characters. Maybe that's enough. It's so sensitive, just adding more characters changes the timing enough. All right. So record command called. Record command. I'm just gonna say RC is bookmark item. All right, let's try that again. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll also build just in case. Just in case. You never know. You never know. We're dealing with very sensitive, non-deterministic confusion. So you never know. Come on. Give me that whammy. Let's do it. Fail for me. Please. Please. Show me that. Test failure. Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. All right, let's see if it runs to completion. What do we know? We know that an item exists, it is clicked, and then we somehow bail out of actually recording the click event for it. So the click event is like we receive the click event, it's in the DOM, and we know that because the click event handler sees it. But then somehow we decide that it's not worth our time and we bail out of record command. And it's not clear why. So what are the different reasons? Well, the first reason is maybe the event is ignorable. Let's see what the ignorable events are. There's an ignore event method. Could that be related? Ignore event. I'm gonna guess no. We only like intentionally ignore events from with browser usage telemetry. Like menu child local name fill subview. Yeah, this isn't a subview. This wouldn't be happening there. Okay, so I don't think we're ignoring the event. I think we can safely say it's not here where we're bailing out. Where else could we bail out? If ignore a command event triggered by a click. If the last target and the source event is a type command and source event target contains last target. That seems unlikely. This is not a command event. I don't believe. Browse like bookmark items whenever they're created. Bookmark item. When they're created, how do they work? I don't think they have like a command attached to them. No, they don't. So it wouldn't be that. We're clicking with the left mouse button. I think we can discard this. The document URI is definitely this. This could happen if we're clicking on the wrong thing. This is what events targeted at content will look like. If for some reason we clicked on the wrong thing. Or if the node is ultimately not that, like we go through the parents, if it's not included in the UI target elements list, but we know that the node is of type, what is it? It's of type toolbar button, so we know it's one of those. Or we couldn't get the widget ID, or we couldn't get the widget container. All right. Well, this all passed. That's really frustrating. What we're going to do is I'm going to get rid of these. I'm going to disable a bunch of this logging, actually. I'm just going to remove it. I don't think these are very likely. These are not likely. This is not likely. This is possible. Bailing because we clicked on the content area. This is unlikely. And then this is possible. Bailing at 7. Let's run this now and see if that's enough to convince it to actually fail. This is, I apologize that this is taking so long to reproduce this, but this is how it goes sometimes, reproducing test failures. Oh, wait. I'm seeing a lot of, like, exceptions being thrown here. 772. Oh, here. Log if bookmarky. If, you know what? Sure. Or wait, no. No. That is bookmark item equal target.class event target.class name equals bookmark item. Scooby-Doo. Fail for me. Feed me, Seymour. Feed me with a test failure. Ah, there we go. We got it. So what happened? What happened? Fail. Test start. Entering. Clicking on bookmark item. Done clicking on bookmark item. This is interesting, these exceptions. I don't know if those are related. If we look at, I just noticed those now. Are those not localized? I'm guessing those are always there though, even when this thing passes. Yeah, even when it passes, they're there. Fail. Let's try this again. Actually, log if bookmarky. I want to see whether or not we actually think we're bookmarky. Oh, wow, whoa, whoa. Yeah, sorry, I can't do that before the function's defined. Hey, if this is like making you think like, oh man, debugging intermittent test failures is a real pain, you are right. You are right. And if there is a better way to debug this, let me know. I would like. It's a bit like catching lightning in a bottle. What I, yeah, I'm. But sometimes logging is the way to go. Aha! Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Clicking on bookmark item. Done clicking on bookmark item. So it actually does not think it's bookmarky. That's interesting. So the target. The event target is not actually the bookmark item. That's the problem. So what is the event target? Can we determine that? Yes, we can, I think. Maybe. So down here at the bottom, when we're all done, let's um, what shall we do? Because this is so sensitive for timing. Here's what we'll do. Let's have there be an M Conley events array. And then what we'll do is we will Conley events, we'll push the event pushed event is this more overhead? Before we do that, let's actually just see what happens if I like dump a event dot target dot ID or something, or node. Let's do a local name. Yeah, we'll see if we get there. I think we're getting close, people. We're kind of narrowing in. This might feel like we're just inching closer, and guess what? We are. We are inching closer. Come on, fail for me. Cosmic rays, do your thing. I don't have a good feeling about this. Let's try again. Show me. Yeah, exactly, Smurfy. Show me failure. Ding. I got a feeling attempting to dump out the event. Yeah, oh, we got it. We got it. Okay. Okay, we got it. Event, toolbar, but clicking on bookmark item, done clicking on bookmark item. So we didn't even get down here. We didn't even get down here. So I'm guessing we may have bailed out here. Oh noes. Event.target inner HTML. We're going to pretend that this is where we hit it. And or here's another place. Oh no, at browser. Okay, so let's do it. And then while we're waiting for this to fail for me, let's answer a question. Let's answer a viewer question. So for the folks who don't know, maybe you haven't been watching the stream lately, you can send me questions over the rate this episode form that I put in every agenda. So send in a rating, and at the end of the form, you can ask me a question. And if I can, if it is a question that I know the answer to or could take a crack at, I will try and answer it on the stream. But first, Oh no, at browser. That's what's happening. Oh no, at browser. So the instant might not be working. We think that we're actually clicking on the browser. Interesting. So that's the problem, eh? So it's kind of like what I mentioned with the instant. Um, Even when we don't animate, wait for the toolbar to be ready. What happens if we await window.promise document flushed? So that the position of everything has been flushed. Is that enough? Let's find out. And while we wait for this to run, I'll answer a viewer question. What are your thoughts on Proton redesign? Is the first question. So the Proton redesign, for the people who don't know, is a sort of a retheme effort for Firefox Desktop that we shipped in Firefox 89. What are my thoughts? I think it's great. I love it. I had worked on it, so I'm a little bit biased, but I really enjoy it. One of the things I've noticed is that if I've used 89 since it came out, so it's been a number of months. If I run an older build of Firefox, everything feels really cramped and like I don't know. It feels really like crowded and um, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to use the old one. I find myself. So those are my thoughts. I mean, that's my personal opinion. But I thought that the redesign, one of the things I really liked about the redesign is that we did a lot of work to try and bring a lot of um, affordances, UI affordances that historically had not had a whole lot of attention, bring them all forward at the same time. So things like all of our permissions panels and all of our like menu panels all got kind of updated around the same time. All the styling, at least. And that was nice, to finally kind of go through all that stuff, audit them all, and put a lot of thought behind how they look and how they function, and then bring them all forward at the same time. I thought that was really good. So my thoughts, I like it. Next question. When I was tinkering with Firefox, I found a way to zoom text only. Menu bar. Let's see if we can follow along here. Menu bar, view, zoom text only. Menu bar, view, zoom text only. Oh, I guess that puts us in a mode where if you now zoom, we're actually just increasing the font size rather than causing everything to get bigger. Yeah, that's the difference. And is there a reason? I find it extremely useful. Oh, good. I'm glad you find it useful. Is there a reason why this could not be additionally accessed using zoom controls or activated with some shortcut? Well, what is the process for deciding which items to select in your menu bar's toolboxes? So there's always a balance, like you, the person who wrote this, find it extremely useful. Uh, would everyone find it extremely useful? Unsure. Unsure. There is a temptation to pack every single feature and bring it to like make them toolbar buttons or make them menu items so that you can see them right in your face. If you've ever worked with music, that's a tendency as well as like when you're mixing music, when you're mixing tracks, there's a tendency to try and make everything louder. Like, I like the drums, make them louder. Oh, now I need to bring up the guitars, make them louder. Bring up the bass, make them louder. And everything just gets louder and louder and louder. When in fact, in order to bring more things into relief, generally what you find that a lot of recording mixers do and recording engineers do is the first thing is like you bring things down. You know, you don't make things louder. You bring everything else down to bring something into relief. And so we have to be very conscious and selective about what things we put into users' face because there's already so much competing for their attention. You know, and we want to like make sure that they're not distracted from the web content, that the user interface is not overwhelming, confusing, or intimidating, that it feels natural, friendly, fluent, you know, that it makes sense for them. So your question is like, is there a reason why this could not be additionally accessed using zoom controls? I think you mean like over here, the zoom controls in the menu. I think people, whenever they think of zoom, this is my opinion. So what you're asking about is a decision that happens usually at the user experience at product level. But from my opinion, when people think of zoom, this is what they think of. This is zoom. This is zoom. And what you're describing whenever we zoom text only is inflate text size, increase text size, which is not a thing that I think is common. You know, like, I don't think that's something that people. I mean, you find it handy, and Firefox allows you to do that. That's great. Would lots of people find that handy? I'm not sure, because oftentimes whenever they want to read something, maybe they want to increase the font size, they want to actually get a closer look at something, they can just like zoom the whole thing. And the other reason is that, I don't know if you noticed this, but when you zoom text only, it tends to break the layout of the page. You know, like look at all this crowded text. You know, it doesn't work beautifully because a lot of pages are not designed to handle the inflation of fonts without the inflation of everything else. And we want to make it generally harder for you to break websites or break web experiences because usually when websites are broken or they look broken, people blame the browser. And we don't want you to blame us. So what is the process for deciding which items to select in menu bars or toolboxes? A couple of things. I think we take a look at, first of all, we look at other applications, what people are already used to. We weigh that in with, you know, the common acts from user research that users report that they want to be able to do. We use user research. We use, you know, things like usertesting.com, and our user research teams are always checking to see what people are doing and like running experiments. And then that helps to inform what goes into our menus and where they go in our menus and if they qualify to go into our menus or whether or not they're too specialized and they're more of like they're so specialized that maybe we take them out of our menus. Because again, it's tempting to just put everything in the menus, but then it gets way too loud. You know, there's just too much stuff. You've got the whole kitchen sink in there. It's too much. So you have to be very selective about what you expose in the menus. And then you have to worry about testing it as well. Like the more things that are in the menus, the more that you expose it, the more users. Oh, thank you. You know, there's almost a contract that is made whenever you expose something in the UI, like the top level UI of like this is very well tested. And I don't want to speak for the layout team because they're great and but I don't know how well tested text zooming is. Maybe it's very well tested. Maybe it's not. But like as soon as you elevate something in the UI, then you have to spend a lot of time like making sure that it works in lots of different scenarios. And we've already found one where like it can really sort of like wreck the user experience and like even just a little bit of zooming. It makes things look awful. So hopefully that answers your question. That's just my opinion too. Like ultimately it's not usually my call what goes into menus. It's sort of a collaboration between product management, user experience, and engineering. Have you ever read a book on e-ink paper? Yes. I have a Kobo. I'm reading a book right now on it. I finished the Anthropocene Reviewed. I'm reading a book by Margaret Atwood uh, uh, called Oryx and Crake. I'm reading that right now on my Kobo. Let's take a look at that test. Did it ever fail? It did not. Let's run it one more time and then we'll push it up for review. We'll push it up to try and we'll see if we can get automation to fail. Let's answer this last question. Some companies/teams once in a while have a time period when they focus solely on fixing bugs. What do you think of this approach? Have you ever discussed this with your colleagues? Yeah, I mean, yes, yes, I've discussed this with our colleagues. We've done this before, where we work on clusters of bugs. We'll focus on, improving the experience in a particular component. What do I think about this approach? I think it's great. And not just for fixing bugs, but for refactoring code, revisiting code, refactoring it, documenting it, making it easier to understand. It's not necessarily stuff that users will see or feel, but it helps to make the code more manageable and makes development faster. It's sort of like an upfront investment in sort of long-term development. We can make changes and improvements easier if you refactor and you improve the code and make it easier to work with. So what do I think of this approach? I think it's a great approach, and we do it. We do this approach at Mozilla. All right. You know what? I'm pretty happy. Oh, no! 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 We didn't fix it. The test failure is still here. What happened? Hubris. Clicking on the bookmark item. Oh no, at browser. Oh no, at browser. So for some reason, the click event still occurred on the browser. No! Even though we flushed layout, it's not collapsed. It is initialized. Is there a way to know that it's finished? This is toolbar. When it's finished animating in. This is toolbar. Is there like a transition end event? I mean, we could listen for transition end. Maybe that would help. How does instant work again? Remind me how instant works. Instant in our CSS. I don't know why sometimes SearchFox brings up the HTTPS only mode alert, but sometimes it does. Okay. So when it's not instant, when it's collapsed and it's instant, we just collapse it. When session is restored, then we set the transition to be this. Not instant, and it's collapsed. And when it's not instant, we set this transition. Max height, padding inline. The height. So when you take off collapsed, then if it's not instant, then the min height is not initialized. We know it's initialized. We know it's not animating in. We know it's not animating in. And we flushed layout. What does the window look like in this position? Let's just watch it for a sec. It still animates in. I don't know if you saw that. It animated in still. Oh, what's going on there? Does it not have the is animated is false? Is the oh, what's happening? What is happening? What is happening? Set toolbar visibility. I was calling the wrong thing. Customizable UI only takes 2 arguments, whether or not it is visible or not visible. And why don't I persist the attribute the first time? What if I call window directly? What does this look like? So the animate thing, I mean, I was calling a function. I thought I was calling one function. I was actually calling the wrong function, one that didn't take those arguments. That is not right. That broke horribly. I didn't actually see it open. Set toolbar visibility. Toolbar. Oh, because it doesn't take an ID, it actually takes a toolbar. Do we have a unique ID? Do we have like G bookmarks toolbar? No. Personal G personal. No. Yep. What if I let toolbar? Yeah, here, we'll bring this out. Let toolbar bookmarks toolbar equal that. We'll do that. And we'll pass this instead. How's that look? Give me passing. Oh, now it really failed. What did it think I clicked on? It just like dumped all this garbage out. Oh noes. Clicking on bookmark item. Oh noes. Because the node that we clicked on, what was the node that we clicked on? It ended up being this, which is what? What is this that I'm looking at? It is the V box, the title bar. It thinks I clicked on the title bar. What happens if I, instead of flushing it, item get bounding client rect. Like, we'll make sure it's flushed. The layout is flushed there. What happens then? Still hates it. Still exploding. Because the click event. This is really interesting. Now I've got like a perma failure, and that's actually even a better condition. We click. Here, let's. Let's click once and then click again and see what happens after 5 seconds. Oh, it's already hidden while we're waiting. While we're waiting, it's hidden. Why is it hiding? Why is it hiding? Set toolbar visibility. What's hiding it? Browser, set toolbar visibility. Oh, okay. That's here on before initial Zool layout. And then here in on location change, if we've actually changed document, update the toolbar visibility. I see. You know what I think I want to do actually is I want to find the thing that controls like bookmarks toolbar always show. What is that? What is that thing? .ftl. Toolbar context menu always show to. What happens is we set these menu items map, radio, unchecked. We command on view toolbar command. We set it to an enum, which is map the ID to an enum, toolbar visibility. So it's the string. And I think I want it to be always. Bookmarks toolbar, personal toolbar, bookmarks visibility, on view toolbar command. Change the document, update the toolbar visibility. I think that's what's happened. The location change. Here, let's dump every time location change. Or no, set toolbar visibility. New error stack. And we'll do this if toolbar.id equals personal toolbar. Okay. Set toolbar visibility, and then we'll say whether or not it's true or false, followed by a new line plus the stack. Okay. And I need to add a plus sign there. Then I'm going to get rid of that huge inner HTML thing. I'm going to say target dot ID. We'll see it, or tag name. How's that? So let's run again. And I'm almost ready. I'm almost ready to wrap it up, but I feel like I'm really close to something here. Set toolbar visibility is true because of the... All right, hold on. Quit. Okay, where's the test failure? So here's what happened. We open up... Set toolbar visibility true. We call... that's due to... At some point we do it because of the test. Where do we do that via the test? Here, with new tab, open foreground tab. We do that. And then we do it again here in on location change. And then again here when we switch tabs and location change occurs. And then again here directly in the test we do it. And then it happens again. Set toolbar visibility. I thought I was saying the true or false value. What happened to doing that? Set toolbar visibility. Oh, yeah, true. Sometimes it says new tab. Is visible is like sometimes it's not a Boolean, interestingly enough. Wild. It looks like it takes a value that can either be a string or a Boolean. I see. All right. And what happens is we set it to true, and then we say we've opened a new tab, and is visible when it's new tab. What does that mean? Persist in toolbars, personal toolbar. If the type is that, then the pref value will be new tab, and then we if the current browser, it wouldn't be new tab. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. So okay, I think I get it. I think I get it, everybody. We show the toolbar. And then down here, we like close a tab. And when we close a tab, we switch tabs. And because we are currently prefed to only show the tab to, or only show the bookmarks toolbar on new tabs, we hide the toolbar. I think that's what's happening. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to move this to occur after the tab close has occurred. I don't know if I need to wait for a flush anymore. But let's see if this passes. Okay, that passes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of some of our logging here. And then we're going to run it through the old verify step. I think now we have a better sense of what's happening. We can get rid of a bunch of logging in here. Sorry. Okay. I think we can get rid of this too. And then over here, I don't think I had any logging. Over here, I didn't have any logging. I got rid of the logging over here. I think I can probably get rid of this too. Let's keep this for now. But Windows set. All right, let's run this with verify headless, and then we'll call it a day. Regardless of what happens, hopefully this doesn't fail. If it does fail, I'm going to go like I'm gonna Hulk out. But I've got some confidence here that I know what's happening. Ah! Hulking out! Can't get bound in client rec. Target is null. In where? On line 62, line 135. Item is sometimes null. So the bookmark item is not available. When do the bookmark items get added? Insert new item. Places toolbar. Come on, come on, come on. Rebuild. We request animation frame. We rebuild all this stuff. So one thing we can do, obviously, is we can just wait until one exists. Await, let await browser test utils wait for condition. I mean, I don't normally like polling, but this should do the trick. Return item equals that. Query selector. Wait for condition. Return document dot query selector dot length greater than 0, and then let item equal this, and then get rid of that. How about this? How about this? Duct tape and glue and nails and hammers. Stick. No, can't do that. It's very upset with whatever I did. Query selector, document, bookmark. Oh, query selector all. We're waiting for, or maybe instead of length, it's like not equal to null. Hammers and tape and glue and nails and rope, twine. Okay, I'm going to call it here, though. Hey, thank you so much for watching episode 262 of The Joy of Coding. I hope that was interesting. Yes, I like this approach. We do this approach. It's a great way to pay down, to fix paper cuts, and also to pay down technical debt. Let me know what you thought of the episode. There is a rate this episode form that you can click here in the agenda. Let me know what your thoughts and whether or not there's anything you want me to answer. You can send me questions, and I'll do my best to answer. And I will see you next week. Thanks again. Take care. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.